God's beautiful creation, the Appalachian Mountains. And they're so beautiful. From Maine all the way down to Alabama. All the pretty blooms on the trees in the spring. And you ever wonder how these blooms all come back every year after year? And all the wildflowers throughout these mountains, these vast fields, just beautiful wildflowers, nature's best. So beautiful. And they're all created by the little old honeybee. Now these are not domesticated bees. I'm talking about these are the wild bees of these mountains. Wild honeybees. And they pollinate everything every year. All the little flowers, all up and down these mountains and these fields, even around our homes. This is just nature's way of reproduction every year for all these plants. So many different varieties, but without the honeybee, they wouldn't be here. And all of our fruit trees and all of our gardens too. Now, I'm going to talk about it in this video, about the wild honeybees in these mountains, how the old timers found them, how they used to do it. Now, I'm no expert by any means. I'm just telling the story of the history of the old timers, how they used to find these old honeybees. This has gone on a long time in these mountains. These old honeybees, they're having a hard time like everything else nowadays. Now they'd find these old honeybees. Honeybees are just like anything else in nature. They have to have water. And these old timers would find, they say they'd find these honeybees in these little streams and waters, these eddy holes where the water's kind of calm. And they'd try to catch them and follow them, see where they went back to their nest at in these mountains. These little old bees, they have to get water, and they'd sit and watch. It's a slow process trying to find bees at this water. But when they got their water, they would go straight back to their nest. And they would try to catch them in some jars, as many as they could of them. And I'd even heard the story they'd put flour in there a little bit, so the bees would turn white a little bit, so when they turned them loose, they could track them a lot better. And they'd turn them loose, a little bit here, a little bit there, and watch where they went. And when they went that direction, they would go and turn another one loose as they walked up through there. And that old bee'd circle around, and he'd go straight to that tree. Straight to it, just like a rifle shot. And they'd zero in on them that way. Now, they had other ways of doing it too, but this is just one of the techniques that I was told from the old timers, my elders. And they'd watch these trees, where the nest was in that tree, study it, where they'd coming in and out of when they found it. This was a pretty good job. Some of them were good at it too. And when they found the tree, they would mark it. So other people in the community would know it's already spoken for, and they couldn't bother. And most people wouldn't. And they would just watch after this tree, and they would get the honey out of it if they could. But a lot of them wanted to make bees' nests out of it. And they was usually in trees like this. This is called a black tupelo tree, which we call it in the mountains black gun, but they called it a bee gun tree. And they would make their little nest back in the old days, 200 years ago even, of this, a little hollow section of it. They looked like this when they first started getting these old bees way back. And they used them for a long time. Inexpensive, easy to make. This is what they look like. And what they basically consist of old bee gum hive. They'd cut it in 2-foot long sections. It was hollow in there. And they'd drill holes in it and they'd put some cross sticks in it. So it'd make it easy for the bees to make their nest on. And they'd set it up on a stump or a rock, get it up off the ground, put a board over the top of it. That was good for them to do that. The bees could use it. Now, you can see here the old museum pieces of some of the really old bee gum hives. Old museum pieces here. That's what they look like. Now the old people, as time went on, they just made their own little beehives. After they got the queen out of them old trees and stuff, they got the queen out of them, they make their own little beehives. They look something like this back in the old days. And there was an old guy here in Cage Cove called John McCulley. He was born in 1880 and died in 1861. And he was a good carpenter. He made all the coffins for the community in Cage Cove and all that stuff like that. He was good with wood. Well, he made his own beehive. Here, and he lived in the south end of Cage Cove, right up on the ridge, not down in the bottom. This is the old homestead he got right here. This is back after he had to leave it, and the park took it over, and he left it in 1937. This is his old homestead. And he had his own beehives here too, bunch of them. And he was good with these bees, plus a lot good with a lot of other things too. But this is a good thing he developed. He made a lot of money off these. Here's his beehive. And here's what he said in one of the interviews, a piece of what he said.
And I had a big bee yard. We had lots of honey. I sold lots of honey there. The 2 last years that I sold honey there, I sold 356 pounds right at my door for $20 a hundred. Couldn't fill the order.
Now nowadays, you can just order your beehive pre-made. It's no big deal. Any style you want, any kind, any size. But that was just talking about how they used to do it in the old days. And these old bees come and go, and they work these fields and these fruit orchards and stuff like that, and they pollinate everything year after year. And they even have little, people have semi-trucks with the beehives on them, and they take them around the country, and they rent them out to these farmers in their big fields to pollinate them. That's a big business out west. But here in these mountains, they ain't nothing better than this old wild mountain hunting. Nothing better. Now these old bees, they have a hard time nowadays just like everything else in wildlife. It's either insecticides or loss of habitat or just mites, invaders, foreign species from different countries. It never ends. So I just want to share this with you of just how the old timers used to get their old bees. They didn't buy them. They got them the hard way. So I hope you enjoyed, friends. I want to say God bless every one of you, and I'll see you next time.